We're back! It's been a while. I'm sad summer is almost over. I know, boo, I have to go back to work. I wanted these months to go, these 2 glorious months to go by slow so I get a lot done. I think I got quite a bit done, but I like being able to focus on the thing that I want to do. Anyway, let me sync up the stream. What have you all been up to? I've been working on the comic book. Just got secondary cover roughs back from the artist. I say the artist, my artist, Patrick. Is it more polite to say my artist or the artist? Because I don't own the guy. Whatever. I'm really bad at that. Let me turn that. Crap. You ever try to adjust the volume on your phone and you end up taking a screenshot? Like, no, I just want to turn the volume off. That way I can see chat. There we go. Okay. Yay. Got the chat there, which I'm probably going to miss anyway. I still got to get 2 screens. I'm still using the phone for this. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's kind of broke, and I haven't fixed it. I've been working on StarQuest. I'll probably do a video later on showing some of the stuff that I'm doing. It's not really an overhaul, but I'm trying to redo the interface so it's just nicer on the eyes. Right now, with the gray on gray, it's really hard to see. So I've got some things that I want to do, but I'll get to that at some point. Today I'm working on Seldin once again for Guardians / Wielders of Aether. You know, a little upset that Rivals of Aether is a thing, because I've worked really hard on that title. But I think Rivals of Aether is the only other one that has a title similar to Wielders of Aether, so I might be okay. It's a different genre. I don't know. Whatever. But the book is still Guardians, Path of Ascension, and I think what I'm going to do, because I have 1,800 copies of it out, I'm not going to do, I was going to do a full title change. But to not confuse those who have already read it, have already grabbed it, I'm just going to do a little heading at the bottom that associate it with the comic and all that stuff. Oh, let me hold on a second. I'm going to pause for just a minute, just so I can pull this up here. Did I get it all? Let me see. I think I can do that part. Yes. Okay, I think we're good. Yep. There we are. Alright, so, you know that Wielders of Aether is coming out for the comic. Patrick's been working really hard on this. One of the things we're going to do is an alternate comic or an alternate cover. So he sent out these mocks a little while ago, and I liked this style, but this text, so that's what we did over here. We kind of blended those. But I want to do an alternate cover for the Kickstarter, just because it's nice to give options, you know. So we're going to do a sketch cover. We actually have 2 sketch covers and 2 main covers. So this is the main cover. This one's stylized with that hyper-realistic sort of poster art kind of look. And then we're going to have one that does not have that stylized look. It'll be more traditional comic. So technically we have a few different options, but this is the sound booth that I'm working on. I'm doing I know, weird segue. I'm doing this one with this design. So I have one layer of material, but I'm going to have an air gap right in the middle. And we'll see. If the physics makes sense, I don't know for sure. I'm guessing that the STC40 is because of more material that it's moving through, and really the air gap probably only provides a little bit of resonance, but I'll cover that in the other video. I'm making the video for this as I'm building the booth, but yeah, I'm going to do a gap in the single wall, just like a half of an inch or whatever. My guess is if the gap makes that much of a difference, I should get close to STC40 off of this design with a small gap. But I'll get back to that when I'm there. And there's different walls and stuff. Oh, and the fans and the music. StarQuest is up, by the way, on the itch page if you want to download it and play it. You don't have to pay anything. I do have a suggested donation, but you don't have to pay anything. Play it, break it, let me know what's breaking. A buddy of mine found an error the other day, so I'm going to have to go fix that. But anyway, the whole reason I came over here is this is the sketch cover as is, and you can see this is Kyra in the background, Seldin throwing an energy ball, and then Patrick really loves doing these little, I don't know what you would call this, but these little strips of action. I know there's a term for it, but I don't know what it is. But he really likes doing this kind of stuff, and I think it's cool. And he's like, "Can I throw that on there?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So it's fun having an artist who when you're doing art and you have an artist, the thing that you really want is someone who can anticipate what you want, because it's easy for me to, I know what the picture is in my head, but it's hard for me to get that out. And it's easy for me to say, do this, but then he has to interpret that. So it's great having a relationship with an artist who can kind of get what you're thinking, but then also is completely comfortable with throwing in suggestions and saying, hey, it might look cooler if I do this, right? And it's like when he did this mock-up over here, I was like, I know I want something, but I don't know exactly what I want, and he's like, okay, so he threw out these little mock-ups, but he didn't have to do that. He could have just been like, yeah, whatever, I'll just do this, right? He gave me options to kind of pick from to kind of get the juices flowing, but also he got to stretch his creative prowess and add his own little flair into some of these. So I'm like, okay, cool. So you have to have that kind of working relationship. And I just really enjoy working with Patrick. So, but yeah, so here it is with the crop line, and here's without the crop line, But yeah, and then this is going to be fully. This will be the sketch version of it, and then we're going to go through and ink it. I'm saying we. I'm not touching this thing. Patrick is going to go through and ink it and color it and get it going, and then that'll be up on the Kickstarter. So we'll have a couple covers to kind of go through and whatnot. But yeah, pretty excited. This looks really cool. Anyway, the whole purpose of this is I'm back here doing Seldin's animations. If you followed any of the videos before, I tried several different things for his animations. And I was going to do them by hand, but they were kind of clunky, and then I did them with motion capture. But the motion capture system that we're using has its own bugs in it, and it created a bunch of complications, and then whatever. So I'll run you through some of what those headaches are, because I'm a one-man army doing this thing, and I don't have a staff. I'm basically a dude living in my own basement. Right? Alright, so I'm going to go over here, and we'll take a look at, it's too far, projects default, scenes, wrong drive. Ever since I changed the hard drive on this, I've had to go the long the long path, and it's been annoying. Okay. So I'll show you I think I'll show you the older ones first, and then this is gonna get. I've been working on this thing for years, and one of the problems with it is I'm just not happy with the quality that is going into the product. Like I can make all these little games, right? And I make all these other little side games because, you know, in my mind, those are easier to accomplish than the thing that I want to make that I'm really passionate about. But the thing that I'm really passionate about is the thing that I want to make. So I do these little ones, and I get them about halfway, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't really love that. I really want to work on this thing. And I go back to it, and I take what I'm learning or what I've improved on, and I try to hit it with that to whatever. But it's a back and forth that never seems to end. Okay. You'll see that I've rebuilt Seldin like a dozen times. I've remade the animations a dozen times. So in the backups here, I'll get some of the old stuff. Let's go. And these are all done by hand, but they're not bad, but they're not great. Where are you at here? I wanted the walk cycle. I won't save current. Look, this is just the old version of him. Very old rig. It works. He's very stiff. Yeah. Then if I open up the motion capture, let's go back. Actually, some of these, where's that crouch? Crouch. I saw one the other day when I was kind of perusing these things. Crouch walk. Let me go in here. There it is. I was looking at this one. I was like, oh, the motion on that actually isn't terrible. Like the way the arm comes up, the rotation on the shoulder, and then swing out. And I thought maybe this was motion capture just because of the amount of change in the body posture. But I think I did that by hand. And I say that because of how the feet are sliding. You know, and I have these blocks here. I usually, if I'm doing animation without IK, I'll put these guide blocks in to kind of line my feet up so I can keep them relatively in the same spot as I'm doing the animation. It's one of those pains in the neck, but you can kind of see that. So this is some of the ones by hand, and the older version of Seldin, which is fine. And then the old mocap, that one's okay. Let me go to get the Axis Studio just so you can see what's going on there. So pros and cons to motion capture. The pro, of course, is it takes the grunt work out of the animation, right? You don't have to do frame by frame. You can get things a lot smoother, a lot quicker. The downside is that's only good if the motion capture system that you're using produces good results regularly, which it doesn't do. I've had to recapture and recapture and recapture again and again and again to get smooth results. We're using perception neuron. The nice thing about perception neuron, actually I'll pull that up for you just so you can kind of see it. If you're interested in perception neuron, I don't need this. Don't need this. I'll keep that one. Sorry, I'm cleaning. that one. Okay, perception, neuron. There it is. Okay, so I'll pull that one up. There we go. Ah, there we go. Okay, so this is what we're using. We've got the perception neuron system here. And it's nice because it's mobile. You can pretty much do this anywhere as long as you have an internet connection, which is, that's the the rub of it, is you got to be in a place that is big enough so you can move around and has a decent internet connection. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Uses these magnetic sensors. They're magnetic gyros. Pretty good quality. It is a lot nicer than some of the other things that I've used, but the problem that I have... Oh, this is cool. Let's see what this guy does. I might want to add this. I don't know how well that's going to work. So something I'm running into with the perception neuron is the magnetic sensors are very sensitive to things that are magnetic. If you're near metal, you'll mess it up. If you're in a... I'm trying to think of the term for it, but like basically an environment that is not EMF treated, you're going to have interference. If you have a lot of electronics around you creating EMF signals, that's going to interfere with the magnetics. So a lot of times I get, and you'll see that when I pull this up, you get jitter, you get abnormalities that are introduced into the animation. So I'll pull this up so you can kind of see. So, right, so this is the default skeleton setup, which is nice. And here I am. But you can see right off the bat, my legs are in this weird position. Right? This leg is at this goofy angle. Right? As the animation starts, I'm taking a stance, because Seldin's usually in a fighting stance. Alright, that looks fine. I take that step, that initial step, cross over, right? But this, at this point, I should be walking along this red line. I'm not walking along that red line. And if you look at the motion of the body, like the angles of a lot of things are just kind of twisted. Like there's no way this leg would ever cross through this leg here. You see that? There's just this weird goofiness on a lot of the motion. And I can take a lot of that out. But as you can only take out so much before you're destroying the nuances of the things that you're capturing, right? I love doing the motion capture because if you look at the if you watch what's captured, right? There's just a fluidity to this that's very natural because it was capturing my performance. It's fantastic, right? So I do love that, but I really hate having to clean up this amount of distortion. this is a lot of distortion. Because it's not just the angle to the starting point that I have to fix. I have to take that angle out of every joint because they're all skewed. And by the time I'm done cleaning all that out, I'm left with just a bad animation. So let me go ahead and I'll go from here to there. So 1100 to 1350. Okay, so 1100, 1350. So there are things I can do to try to clean this up, right? I can go into, where's my animation editor, into my graph editor. I can grab this guy. Let me get all those. All right, let's say that I want to just get rid of everything before this line and everything after this line. Okay. Oh, I lost a little bit extra, but it doesn't matter. It just gives me a cleaner workspace. So I'm there. And I want this to be a straighter animation, right? Well, I gotta find the root. And that's the other thing. The root joint is over here. If I'm working in Unreal, I need my root joint to be the thing that controls my forward motion. So I actually have to transfer all of the animation onto that root joint. So I'm going to grab this guy. I need the forward motion here. Let me get this. So its forward is going to be Z. So I'll get my Z. Capture that, copy it. Actually, I'm going to cut it because I want to remove the Z value. I need to put that on the root joint. So the root joint Z value, I'll just go ahead and paste that in. I think I got them all. Yeah, should be able to just paste those. Okay. And then offset from that root joint, I can zero that. Okay. Now I have to go do that for each one, but you can see that now, where are you at? His motion should be in line with the root joint. Right? Then I have to remove any wiggle wobble from those. So the little cleanup things that I gotta do, right? Yeah. So these, I'll cut those out. Pop those onto the root. While I'm here, I'll just zero these off. I made a mistake. Hold on a second. Is the Y value up? Yes, it is. I just have to double check. Y value I need to keep. It's the X value I need to leave alone. X. The reason I need to keep the Y value is as you walk, the height of your pelvis changes as you step, so that needs to be consistent. And I need to get that root joint. Where are you? Make sure I paste that in. So there we go. Now I'm walking in track with that root joint. Okay. And you can see it does some weird things like jumps to goofy spots. I'd have to go in and fix that, you know. But the main core of that motion is now forward. Right? That's not too bad. But now I have this twist in the leg, right? I have to go to that leg. I gotta go into its animation. Let me see, it's gonna be in the Y. So I'll get its Y rotate. I'll get the value for that. And I'll adjust it so that it straightens out. So that's a bit straighter, but now I got to go and do my Z. So I'll get the Z value. And I'll adjust the Z value. Right. Now that's good for that particular frame, but I have to make sure that that's consistent. Now, since all these are relative to each other, moving the group like that usually gets a good result. You can see how the leg is moving. That's a little bit nicer, more consistent with how the body should move. But I gotta go do that per joint, right? And as I'm cleaning some of this stuff up, I'm losing some of the nuance that is in between a lot of this stuff. And there's like a lot of keyframes here, so I would bake these down to like every other keyframe, and I would lose some, but I end up losing some data. So pros and cons of every system you're using, right? Well, I was gonna go recapture the motion. I was going to take a partner just so I don't have to man the controls. I can have the partner hit reset and refresh, which helps get rid of some of the bugs before doing each animation. Because the longer the system is running and the more changes that happen, the more distortion there is. So I have a big studio place that I can go to do that. But I ran into another problem. So I've been working on... Get water. This water's kind of old. I might get sick. We'll know if I rush to the bathroom. We know it was a bad idea to have that water. So we'll go back to where's my projects, default, scenes. So I went ahead and I've been working on this rig because I want to have a switchable rig. It's just going to help me when I'm animating. So if there's any of those distortions, I can help pin those down. So since I can switch between, you know, IK and FK, for example, you know, if I did this and then swap the rig out, you know, now and then, you know, IK versus FK. The advantage of IK and FK, of course, I can pin my feet down. So if I wanted to do, you know, like a squat or something, the feet are pinned. Nice and handy. But I need to be able to switch between these and match position. So I've been working on that, and I got the rig set up the way that I like, but there's a problem with suddenly it no longer works with motion capture. And I'm like, of course that would break. Why wouldn't it not break? So I just feel like I've been doing this for years, and I'm just spinning my wheels on this. Let me pull in a motion capture reference. I'll grab that from Access Studio. I'll grab it out of the cleaned file, and I'll just grab that walk cycle again. Okay. So I can get that, and then I can just assign it. But the rig, this happened. Why? Good question. I have no freaking clue. I don't know why that happened. And this is where it gets even funnier. So if I go back to this one. By the way, these rigs are identical. This rig and that rig are identical. They do the same thing. IKFK switching. There are some skin weights that are not on this rig, so this does not have the face controls done. So if I pull like an eyebrow, nothing happens. On the other one, the eyebrows work, you know, all the face controls work. And some of the match, in the updated one, I have match positions built in. This one does not have match positions built in, right? But this one works with the motion capture. The problem is I don't have the IKFK matching, so when I want to swap between one rig to the other, I can switch between them, but I can't match the position, which makes cleaning up more difficult, which is why I went and added in the matching on the rig. But that rig doesn't work with this for some reason. And I'm like, well, what the heck did I change that was that much of a difference? Because the only thing that I really changed on the other rig, other than adding in the match positions, was on the spine. If I take these, the way that I did the FK rig is everything is in the correct position in the order of how the joint is going, right? So this is oriented the same way that joint is. This one's oriented the same way that joint is. That one's oriented the same way this joint is, right? Same thing for the whole thing. The only thing I changed was the match point in here is set for world versus the joint. But I only did that on these, 3 joints here? Okay. Now, for the spine to break, okay, cool, that makes sense. But on the other rig, the arms also break, the legs also break. I'm like, I didn't change those, you know. So I have to go back and dig through that rig to figure out why. I can probably go through and transfer all the data to this rig and then transfer the data from that rig to the other rig. That's an extra step. It's like, why? But with this on here, you can see the problem that I'm having with the distortion in the rig anyway. Like, why are his legs sideways? Well, this is an issue with the rig. This is the issue with the motion capture. Let me go back out to 2500. You can see, like, what is he doing with his head here? The weird angles. So I want to go recapture the motion data anyway, but if I can't transfer it to the rig, then it's not going to help me any. So that headache aside, I've been redoing the animations by hand. I've spent way too much time on this project. I need to get something going. I can always redo the animations later. I really want to get the project further playable, demoable. You know, if I get enough focus on it, I can get funding for it, and then I can have more than just me working on it. We can tackle all the different headaches. So I went ahead and did this by hand. So this is all done with FK. He takes his initial step and goes into the walk cycle. And I wanted Seldin to have that powerful walk, sort of a commanding walk. Now I haven't done anything with IK yet. The walk's pretty good. I need to have some secondary motion on that arm. From the front you can see that I do not turn the hip, just because that's a pain in the butt to do. It's easier to do that with IK. I do turn the hip here. This is done by hand, but that was a very simple shift forward. And there's actually jitter on the feet here. So if I go back to this beginning section, as he goes to take that step, you can see this foot is sliding. I'm not worried about that slide because he's going to be in motion as it's happening, so I'm not too worried about that. As the foot steps down, we're good. But look, right there, as that foot contacts, this slides forward. I can go through and try to iron that out by hand, but I'm just going to use IK to level that off, because that should not come back forward. And then the rest of this is okay. And then for the arms are a bit stiff in the beginning. So as he starts to take that step forward, this arm has to be active. You know, that has to be active. So he takes that step, and then we go in. That's probably good. And then up, and then down. So I think on this down, I want to pop that elbow up a little bit more, just to carry some momentum. So let me grab this here. We can take a look. I'm going to just isolate to frame 20. So here on the initial down, so I think on that impact, I want to take the elbow up a little bit. And I'll do that here as well for this one. So let me just try that. Let's see the orientation. Make sure we're in object. I want to take that up just a smidge, and I'm going to keep an eye on that value. Make sure nothing changed there. Okay. So in the next frame, I will pop that up. And this one, where are you at? I need to make that not selectable. Too much snap. I'd have to put some gap in between there. But anyway, the whole point of this session, which I'm wasting time on, is I need to get the ending of this walk cycle. So we start here, we're going, we take a step, it's when do I want this to end? How do I want it to end, right? So his stance, if I go back to 1, his stance is this way, which means that at about, when I want this to end, I want this to end at about here. So I need to take this position and go out again. A couple ways I can do it. I can take this, save it out, and then strip everything else out to here. Or I can move it over. Just watching that foot. The other foot kind of swings out and then comes back. To make sure I didn't introduce something. If it was always there, then it's fine. I can always take it out later. Yeah, it was there as he took that step. Alright, so if I go back to, we need about 30-ish. So, how far out do I want this to be? I have 2 stops that need to be made. I have a stop and go back to his stance, and then I have a stop and turn around action that has to happen. So let's do this. Let me get all of the FK controls here. This does not always work out. So from 44, how many frames is that? 12 frames, I think. So 20 to 32, so 12 frames. So 44. Let me go to 44. Well, I don't want to cut that off. 56, right? They should be about 12 frames out. But if I'm going to repeat this cycle, I need to go from here and I'm ending here, right? So I'm going to try to copy. Sometimes this breaks, so I'm going to try to copy from here to here. Okay. So that's my 32. 1, 2, 3, 4 frames gets me here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 frames here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Oh, did I not copy it? Huh. I wonder why that does not... Why are you not pasting any keys in there? That's so weird. A way that I can force that, assuming that I'm... Oh, I don't want to do it that way. It's going to be so messy. Graph editor here. So whatever is here, I don't have all the keys framed. So I'll just hit S there. One, two, three, four, and then I can paste that in. Okay. So on this, last step from 44 to 56. As he goes to take that step, he's going to hit and then push back. So I need to actually go, let's say, to 50. Let's go to 65. This is going to get tricky, though, because I might have to do this for either foot. Alright, and then as I hit here, probably about one additional frame out. This foot needs to be flat. Weight needs to be on that foot. So here, oops, let's get this. So those are all already 0. This needs to hit and be 0. I need the weight to come down and his motion to go slightly forward. So I'm going to rotate him a little bit more forward. Where is, this is the right leg, right hip. So right hip, about there. This needs to be, knee needs to be bent. Foot needs to be down. That needs to be out more. But this is what I'm talking about when it comes to putting blocks here, so I know where that foot's got to be. So let me go back to here. I know the foot has to be in this block. So let's line this up on this spot here. Let's make this bigger. Crap. Right, so that's roughly where I need to be. That's about where the heel has to stay. Let me get this again here. So we're up on 58. this one. Needs to be about here. Alright, because he's taking that step. For him to be here, there needs to be more on that leg. And I'm going to allow the body to come forward. Actually, I might want to just do it off of rotation. Whoops, I don't want to take that. Where is right hip? So the ankle needs to be pivoted down. Right, because it's going to be an abrupt stop. And then he's going to end back in his stance. Give or take, right? So we'll go back to 1. I need this pose. So let's copy here. I'll save so it doesn't crash on me, because Maya will happily crash on you. And we'll just pop that in. Are these identical? The fingers are different. Fingers here. Fingers there. Why would that not copy over? That was in the selection set. Right? Maybe the hand is just not in the set. Yeah, the hand itself is not in the set. Let me check the other hand. So he takes that step. Now I don't want that foot to just slide back. He needs to have the impact, and he needs to push back. Alright, so from here, how do we have that going? He goes from here and then he slides back. So how are you doing today? Anything special happening? I'm thinking if I shorten his stride, we come in. So off of here, as this one's coming down, this one's already in contact with the floor anyway, technically. what if I change it from here to, if I just pulled this frame back? If I take this frame here, copy it, we give about 2 frames-ish, and then we're back in. What does that look like? Technically, the hip would pull back. He would shift his weight back. I don't have the weight shifting happening. I'm reluctant to do it straight with FK just because of the pain that it is, but it looks so weird with FK. Somebody from New York is calling. I'm curious, but not enough to actually answer. I'm just trying to think of the motion in my head. Normally I would get up and I would act out the motion and I would come back. But I'm on stream, so I can't just get up and go somewhere and be like, okay, this is the motion, this is the thing. So I think the motion, the spirit of the motion is correct, but the execution of the motion is not. but I think I'm as far as I can go without going into IK. That's not true. Like I could go further with FK. It's just here that he should be deeper on that knee as he's pushing back. This foot should stay here. He should be deeper on the knee and pushing back and then end up here. But I'm going to end up with feet sliding all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start very carefully going through and flipping these to FK, or flipping these to IK. So I'll get these guide blocks here. I'll just hide them. And we'll use the rig for what it's for. So frame 1. Now this is a bit of a tedious part because I haven't scripted the switchable controls. I have to do everything manually. I guess I could go through scripting it, but I'm not that smart, so. Okay, so I did this. I want to match positions here. Whoops. Get that broken off. Alright, so I've got some match points that I can use. So for example, pelvis to pelvis, these are the same. So match. I wonder if I already matched this one. Yeah, so I'm on IK to FK. No change there. Let's get this. And these don't do a diddly squat on this rig. I need to do those better. So you to here. You to here. And then you on the chest control to here. I'm not worried about the head. I really just care about the feet position. The arm position I'm going to utilize anyway for subtle movements, twitches and ticks and that sort of thing. So for the wrist control, I actually have to use the locators that are on here because they're different orients. So the wrist will be there. Elbow there. Rotation for that doesn't really matter. Same thing with this thing. Rotation doesn't matter on that. Elbow to elbow. Transform wrist position to wrist position. Okay. Foot position to foot position. Knee to knee. Foot to foot. Then knee to knee. Okay, so there's the IK for that particular group. Where are you at? IK. Just make sure I key these. So now I'm up on the next frame. And actually going to nuke all the IK positions, I think. So IK all above, pretty much everything above the first frame here is going to get nuked. Okay. Go back to FK real quick. Oh, I may have just killed everything. Take that back. Alright, so position 4 I need, but I don't need 3. I don't know whatever's in between here, I don't need it. Okay. IK. I don't need whatever 3 is. 4 I need. No. My screw up is the, I think I have the head controls on here. I do. Neck I don't care about. No, no. Okay. I also don't know if this main control really needs to be there. Because the main control has a few spots. I think all that's on the main is probably fine. I want to avoid anything I don't need, you know? Which control is on there? I will find you. So the foot controls are on there. And then main control has a position on 3. Oh, that doesn't really matter for main control. What does the head control have? Head has 0. neck. Okay, so I think I'm safe on there. We are not using 3. 4 is being used. Neck and head are not using these. The knee control shows something on 5. It's painstaking, I know, because I have to go through and clear it. It's weird. I mean, realistically, I don't need to have. There's no change in the main control. I don't even need to have it on there. But pelvis control, yeah. That was just weird. I don't know why I can't just nuke this. So I go back here now. And those should all still be there. The main control got cleared, but that's not super important. I should have nothing here. If I go back to FK, I should still have all of the animation. Yeah. Okay. Main control there. I will do a main control at the end. Just in case, you know. Because when I do, at some point, I do have to do a turnaround. So I need to make sure the main control's position is set somewhere between the first and last frame. Okay, and then head controls. You don't particularly have anything, I think, on the head. No, I take that back. Take that back. I did have some head controls. Crap. Sometimes you break stuff. Okay. kind of just want to take these out of that selection set. But anyway, main control I'll leave, neck and head controls I'll leave, these I'll take. So again, I'll set it on 1 and I'll clear it on these. I may have to redo position 1 though. There's the IKs, right? Yeah. We'll hide these. Go back to IK. Right. Huh. He's looking at me. All right. Just in case. I'll be more confident in breaking something if I have a backup. Alright. Time to go through the painful, slow process of matching these again. I need to write that script. Pelvis to pelvis. Chest, well, lower anyway. Upper. I saw a sneaky skeeter. I know this isn't very glamorous. It's a tedious process. This is why motion capture is a thing, but my mocap is not working out for me. Yeah, these need to be set back to 0. Right elbow, transform. Left elbow, transform. Left elbow rotations, we don't need those, they do nothing. Where are you at? Left. You with the right ankle. And the knee. You with the left ankle. You with the left knee. Okay. Let's do these again. So those are FK, IK, cool. Next frame, FK here, we're going to be on frame 4, if I remember correctly. Yes. I was just checking the motion. This is when I would put on like a movie as background noise. Entertain my brain as I go. My body is being unhappy. Alright. We'll go back. Just because this process is a bit tedious. A bit. But what I may have to go do on the rig is put all these back as they were, and then put anchor points for the IK to match to. Because I think that may have broken why the mocap's not working, you know. But I won't know for sure until I go back and do it. And to spend 3 hours to do something when it does nothing. If I'm wrong, it's like, I could have done something better with my time. Alright. So let's hide the IK. We will open up the FK. Torso. Upper torso. Wrist to wrist. Elbow to elbow. Some of these just don't change, but it happens. I could always quote Pete Holmes. Batman, what are you wearing on your wrists? Tell you that's not Pete Holmes, but it is his episode. I'm not wearing hockey pads. Right, it's okay, I know. Listen. The sharp, stabby things on your wrists. Oh, these are triangle blades. Left ankle. Left knee. If the sharp triangle blades hit a flesh neck, what happens? They go to sleep, just like me. Okay. There we go. Okay. It's easy to lose track of which set I'm using. Oh. Look at that. 2 hours and I've made 2 frames. Next up. Now, I normally match these as I go, but I don't always know the position that I want the character to be in, and I might have to change my mind. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And actually, I can show you the previous result of why I had to do this over again. Just so you don't think it's all glamorous. Like, oh, well, it works out every time. It does not. Sometimes you make mistakes. I make mistakes a lot. So here is the original walk cycle. And I was doing the IKFK matching as I was going. Look. Something going on with those hips. And I was like, what's wrong with these hips? Why are they doing that? And it bugged me. And instead of going through and just kind of fixing it here, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it over, but I'll do it all in FK so I can get the correct motion, and then I'll go back for IK and I'll add in the subtle things. Just because most of your body movement is FK. Like your shoulder rotates, you know, your shoulder moves your elbow moves your wrist. That's just how the body works. If I want to turn my wrist, where I'm at on the frame, if I want to turn my wrist up, that actually comes from the shoulder, right? That motion comes from the shoulder, not the elbow. The elbow doesn't do anything. I have to turn the whole thing. Same thing with the leg, you know. IK is just really good at planting. So like if I want, so you can kind of see that here, from here to there, as the feet are moving, you can kind of see that the IK keeps this tracked in a consistent line, which is nice. But the body doesn't move in the way that IK moves. It moves, like if I take this and do that, that's kind of a natural motion. If I move my hip, the lower pieces all go with it. Whereas an IK, I can move this, you know, naturally moving the ankle is going to force the hip to do all the other stuff because the hip really drives it all. But because this is inversely done, it lets me keep the feet planted. It lets me keep the wrists planted when I have to do things. So, pros and cons to every animation method. Alright, next frame is what? We are on frame 8. Frame 8. Okay, so frame 8, let's go back to IK, and we'll go through the steps all over again. Whoops. I need the FK ones open. Alright, so I need pelvis, lower torso, upper chest, by the way, I don't want you to think this is the most professional rig out there. This is not the most professional rig out there. It's a hot mess. It just gets the job done. I've had to go back and fix it because there's so many things broken on it. I just want it to work. I could use auto rigger, but then I don't learn the process of doing the rig, so elbow to elbow. Right ankle, match, right knee, left ankle, left knee. Okay. Let me get my IK controls. And I will get that. Let's see how that's going. Step. Yeah. You can see how this foot is sliding. So something I'm going to have to come do once I get this sort of finalized. I do want this foot to be here. I think that's fine. I don't like the little wavy of motion that's happening. So from here, let me get this guy just for that. I think distance-wise, this is probably correct. But I'll have to come out and take some of this out of here. I'm going to finish it all up and I'll go back through. I think that'll be easier. Alright, so what's the next? Next frame is frame 11. Alright, rinse and repeat. We're back to the old grind. Tell you that once I get the script written for this, it'll be a lot quicker. Pelvis. And then that one. I like to think I'm a relatively fast learner, but I'm pretty slow at understanding certain things. So sometimes I prefer doing it the long way, so that I really get an appreciation for doing it the fast way. My students hate that though. They're like, why do you make us do it the long way? I was like, well, the calculator's good, but you gotta have an understanding of how to do it. Can't we just use AI? No. Ankle. Knee. F. Alright, so that was 11, and this is IK. We will hit it. I think 14 is the next one, just because that's what this one is keyed to. But I need to double check, so. $14, yeah. And then there's 20, but there are a few in the middle that I think this is bound to. All right. Okay. Let's get this out of the way. We'll turn FK controls back to where they need to be. Let's save. If I were a better rig maker, this would be a lot nicer. Okay. 20. His head does like weird things. Like as a counterbalance, this arm would be doing a little bit more work. This right arm. As that step happens, I think that would be more up. Okay, so now we're on 20, and I do know we start at 20, so I don't have to check that one. Alright, so here we go. This really isn't a whole lot of matching. I'm matching, what, 10 controls? It's just, I have to do it over and over and over again. Having a button to click to just match them all would be nice. Alright, so ankle to ankle. I lost my knee control. It's in my knee somewhere. I can't see it. There it is. Okay. That is the right knee. Left ankle. Now I do have auto key turned on, so I don't really have to go through and hit this. But just in case I miss something, I want to make sure that they are keyed. I can kind of go through. Alright, next one is 25. Pelvis. Match. Lower torso. Upper torso. My lower and upper torsos don't do as much as I would like them to do. There's something wrong with the hierarchy when I set it up. It's supposed to have a flexible spine, but there's something wrong with the parent setup. But I don't generally use an IK spine anyway, so I'm not particularly worried about it. I like this control. Yeah, I get a little bit of play here. This one, I don't think I get as much. Guess it's working all right. One thing it doesn't do, though, is when I turn, it's supposed to help add that twist, but I don't really get any twist deflection. which is a weird thing because everything, the way that those are behaving, as far as my, like in my brain box, the way that those are set up should behave the way that I expect them to, but they're not, and I have to go back and fix them. Not super crucial, it's just one of those things that I am aware of. Alright, I just got those, I gotta get the wrists. Right wrist. Right elbow. Left wrist. Left elbow. Let's see. This arm is leading forward. I really think it should be more bent. Okay, so you are going with the right ankle. Nope, that's left ankle. There we go. Right ankle. And right knee. The order that I do this doesn't matter, but as long as I'm consistent, it'll be a lot faster. I'll make fewer mistakes. Left ankle. Left knee. Turn off FK, turn on IK, make sure that I key these into place. Yes. You know, I said 25 earlier, but it really was 23. '26 looks like it's next. I'm gonna swap. See, yeah. A good test to see if your IKFK are matching well is once you get to the position, flip back and forth. You should not see any motion between one or the other. They should be pretty close to still. That's how you have a good match. By the way, I built this rig using a lot of online resources, a lot of reading, a lot of practicing, but I think one of the biggest helps was AntCGI. Yeah, had a really good segment on IKFK matching, so I would definitely check that out. Quick shout out to AntCGI. Let me pull him up. There we go. So AntCGI does a lot of Maya rigging videos. This one was really helpful, doing a face rig and that sort of thing. He also goes through and shows how to do animal rigs and creature rigs. So I definitely check them out. I found them to be very helpful. There were some things that weren't covered that I had to go, elsewhere and research, but really good resource if you want to get into it. And he's very thorough. He also will have you do Some of the newer stuff using you go in, so node editor, of course, you should know how to use that node editor. But the other thing is going to be the I think what it's called, the orientation matrix. Those, if we go to, let me grab that guy. So offset parent matrix. Sorry. This is another way that you can get controls to follow each other, and I haven't played around with this a whole lot. I've poked around with it just a bit, just to kind of see how it works. This does make this process a bit cleaner. My reason for not using this is it's way more tedious to set up, and it hides a bunch of stuff. I don't like things being hidden from me, but this is a lot cleaner, and once you get used to it, it's alright. I have a preference, even though this rig setup that I have is a very old way of doing it. The offset parent matrix is a lot cleaner. Anyway, that was my tangent for the moment. What do I want to get to? 26. Okay, I need to get the frame 26. So I'm matching pelvis to pelvis. And make sure I save before that, because sometimes Maya breaks. One of the things I tell my students every year is, look, man, I don't know everything. I'm just along for the ride. If I know it, I'll teach it to you. If I don't know it, we'll learn it together. Like, you're going to come across stuff when you're creating characters or writing code. You're going to come up with something that I've never thought of before. And that's part of the fun. Students come to me all the time like, I can't get this thing to work on the code. I'm like, oh, okay, let me take a look. Normally what I do is I'll ask them questions. I'm like, what is it you're trying to do, and what is it doing? Man, I'm all phlegmy today. I'm always phlegmy. And I'll get them to work back through it, because I'd much rather have them think through and solve their own problem than for me to go up and fix it every time. And I won't always know how to fix it anyway. Like, when they call me over to something, there's a good chance they're working on something, like I said, I didn't write it. I didn't write their code. I didn't have their idea when they were designing it. So I don't always know the intent. I can figure it out. I can go through line by line and get to that answer, but it's a lot quicker for them to solve their own problem if I ask them questions so that they can think about it and point them in the right direction, they'll solve it a lot faster than me coming to dig through it. Although I am always happy to play around with it. Okay, so ankle to ankle. And then knee to knee. So one of my students made a really robust procedurally generated environment for their game. Custom procedural generation script. And it kept getting, in the beginning, it kept getting hung up on one of the loading cycles. And it was when he would transition from, oops, I'm matching to the wrong thing. Let me get this one real quick. Okay. So he would go through the game would boot up, and then once the server was established, it would try to replicate, it would basically build everything server side and then push that out to all the clients so that they would have the same map generation file, and then it would go through the steps of building that map. But it would get hung up on like the fourth or fifth step on that stage. So he's like, "Hey, can you solve this?" I was like, "Well, I mean, I can try." What had happened was his teammate, and he described it to me. He said, "Well, I'm getting to this point, and it's just where it goes to load, but then it gets stuck loading." And I said, "Well, it sounds like because you're going through all of the elements in your map, basically going through an array. So you're stepping through this to build all the things, but it sounds like you're getting stuck in that loop, and it's just never exiting the loop." And he's like, "Well, I thought about that." And he went through and he checked, and I was like, "Well, run a debugger." So he ran a debugger. He's like, after like, this is always great because he's one of the kids that will usually point out my mistakes. Usually catches me when I'm wrong about things. It's always fun. Keeps you on your toes, But he comes up and he's like, "I got nothing, man. You got to come take a look at it." I'm like, "All right." So I go out and I look at it. I go through the debugger, and we enter a for loop. We exit. I went through all the cycles of the for loop. We exited the for loop. Right after the for loop, there's a while loop. I forget why it was there, but the while loop never exited. He looks over to his teammate and he goes, he yells at him. I can't say because there are names involved, but basically it was you dumb, and of course they laugh about it, but all in good fun. I get to talk about things specific to me that I have to be vague about. Alright, so on this one, we're on 29. I need to get this one here. Where are we going? I may get to 38 and take a break and then come back and finish. Just because of how tedious it is, I'm going to lose mental focus, I think. I've already lost some of it. That one. wrist. You know, I can't always figure out the problem. Give you an example. I had a student who, what was he trying to do? She had the character so she was modeling a character, and I may have done a video on this because it was a very interesting situation that happened, because it doesn't happen very often. It actually took 4 of us trying to figure out what was going on. Oh. She had the character, and trying to think exactly what... I'm trying to think of the specific issue she was having that caused the problem. But I think she was trying to build the skeleton to rig it, and it would bind... The skeleton would bind to, like, an arm, but it wouldn't bind to a leg. And then it would bind to part of a torso, but then it wouldn't bind to, you know, other parts of the body. I think it was a binding issue. But it didn't make any sense. And so I'm like, I looked at it, I'm like, look, I got nothing. Give me the file and I'll take a look at it. And sometimes I have to take a weekend. I'll go over the weekend, I'll dig through it or whatever. Could be a coding issue, could be a modeling issue, whatever it is, you know. So she gives me the file, and you know, I think I'm on lunch. They had left. I worked on it during the next class, and then there was a lunch break, and I worked on it during lunch, and then the next class, I had a couple of my kids come up and I said, hey, you know, take a look at this. You might find this interesting. And I explained to them the problem. I showed them the model, and they're going through it, and we're just kind of spitballing of what it could possibly be, because it was behaving like there were 2 models. Because when we would go to the UV set, that's what it was. When she would go to do the UVs, it wasn't rigging. When she went to do the UVs, she could only select part of the body, but the rest of it was not selectable, and was causing some issues. So we go through and we're looking at it, and I'm like, it's behaving like there are 2 models there, but we only got 1 model. And my other students are looking at it and like, yeah, it looks like there's 2 models. It definitely has that look. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't. What's going on? So one of them suggested, hey, what if you export it to something else? So we exported it to Blender, and Blender allowed us to interact with the UVs that were broken. When I sent it to ZBrush, it wouldn't. ZBrush wouldn't accept it, accept the file. I got sidetracked, sorry. I think I did this wrist already, and then this one. Right, this is the correct elbow. Yeah. So we get those over there, And hey, AP, how's it going? We've had some issues in the across the school district. Same kind of thing. There are a lot of cutbacks. Although, I don't think they're transitioning to online teaching. There's just a lot of cutbacks in our county. But anyway, the model, we looked at it that way, and it was being weird. So one student's like, well, what if you change the color? What if you grab the UVs that you can interact with and just change the color on the model and see, and go from there? So I did that, and it worked. But that led me to think, what if, and it just kind of like happened as I was going through, and I did a color change. And I was like, wait a second. What if? What if there's hidden geometry here? Because in Maya, you can hide parts of the geometry. So I went to display, and I just went to show all. And lo and behold, there were two models. At some point, when she was modeling, she duplicated the model for the character. I don't know if she meant to do that as a backup or whatever, but she duplicated it and then hid it, but it was still selected. And she ended up fusing the hidden version of the model to the unhidden version of the model and continued working on it, but she never realized it was there. But that's what it was. It was just a really bizarre situation, but those are kind of fun. You know, I don't always find them right away, but anyway. Sorry, I got distracted. Right ankle, right knee. Left ankle. Left knee. I think I got them all. But I'll know when I switch this, if I missed anything. I see movement on the head. But I think that is on the neck, not necessarily the torso. Okay. Let me go through here. Chest. Match all. Okay. This one. Oh, I matched the wrong one. Lower, match all. That's weird. This one's not matching correctly. Well, as long as the arms and legs are in the right spot, it should be okay. Yeah. Not sure why this is off, though. Maybe it's not there. Maybe it's lower. Maybe I didn't match pelvis correctly. No. Nope. Something's not right on the spinal column, but it's fine. I'll live with it. I'm going to go to 32, and we will continue on. Oh, you know what I did not do? I did not do that. Okay, so that's there. We'll go to 32. And we'll rinse and repeat. So here, make sure I'm using the correct selection set. Pelvis to pelvis, lower torso to lower torso, upper torso to upper torso, chest to chest. I'm not using the shoulder controls, so that's why I'm not matching to those. Wrist to wrist. That to that. Ankle to ankle. Knee to knee. Ankle to ankle. Knee to knee. Okay. Again, there's a little bit movement on the head, but all I really care about are the legs, so don't be a jerk. You can see where it's a bit stiff in the arms. Like, here I think is okay, but right back here on the startup, that arm needs to do something. It does feel weird it coming out just before. Okay. halfway through the adventure. Alright. Next up, 34. 35. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9 more frames to match. Oh, I need to do wrists. Wrist to wrist. That looks a bit weird. But I think that's because this is so high. Alright. Ankle. Knee. Ankle. Knee. Crap. I kept hitting match all instead of match transform. Just because rotation doesn't matter on those, so I don't really want to store it if I don't need it. Not a whole lot of movement in the torso. That's pretty good. 38. We gonna continue. FK. We'll get pelvis to pelvis. Lower. Upper. Chest. Wrist. Come here, you. Like this rig setup would confuse the heck out of somebody. I use it and it confuses me. You wouldn't send this off to an animator. They'd be very unhappy. Where we go? Right ankle. Oops. I mean, that's funny. If you match that to there, it's pretty funny. But, yeah. It does make a bit of a mess. Okay. And we check to make sure everything's kosher. Again, there's something going on with the transfer on there. I think it's the head itself. I don't think this torso is moving. I think it's just the neck. Nope, the torso is moving. And this particular control is moving. Uh, 775, 68, 15. Yeah, this one only has this as an offset. Weird. Where am I? Everything else is fine though, right? Yeah. So those are good. Let's get the next one. Next up is 44. 44 is the end of the walk cycle, and then we actually have the stop. So let's continue. Make sure I'm grabbing the correct thingies. Weird. That goes to wrist. Elbow. Ankle. There we go. That should be all of them. IK, key it. Something weird with the way that arm drops. Okay. Whew. We're good here. We need to go to 47. and rinse and repeat. Speed run it. How fast can I go? I don't want to go too fast to make a mistake, so. Whenever you're working, do you listen to music or background noise? For me, it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm programming, I can't do it. But if I'm doing this, where it's just repetition, I like to have like a movie or something going. And if I'm working on like an action story, I might watch like Avengers or something. If I'm working on like a thriller, I might watch like a horror. If I'm working on a thriller, I might watch like a horror movie or something to keep the same mindset. All right, we got that, and then IK. And really, this is a quick set. I could just do select set members. Without having to open it. But sometimes I do not think. Match. Chest. There we go. Wrist. Ankle, knee, head and shoulder, knees and toes. That knee is way there. For a second I thought it froze because it didn't turn when I went to turn. And I was like, uh-oh, I think I broke it. IK selection set, we will key it. And repeat. Pelvis, chest. You are so tedious to me. You there, what knight lives in this castle? I can ask him, but I don't think he'll be very keen. That's what happens when you match an ankle to a wrist. That's not how that goes. It'll do it, it's just not supposed to. He's already got one, you see? Say he's already got one. Are you sure he's got one? Oh yes, very nice. That's when we already got one. That's what happens when you match a knee to an ankle. There we go. Selection set. Yes. Okay. I am trusting that it's working. I'm not going to actually witness them. I'm going to assume it all went according to plan. What? I thought my whiplash was healed and I laid weird the other day. I was like, oh, well, I guess maybe not. I was carrying the wall of the sound booth that I'm building. That wall section keeps getting heavier and heavier, and I was resting it on my shoulder. But it wasn't until like yesterday when I was laying down, I was like, oh, that's weird. So I think I aggravated it by lifting, but then I noticed it when I was lying down. Just one of those weird things. You to there. Next up is the ankle. Right knee. Mental fatigue is already set in, so like I'm like just trying to get through it. Are you sure he's got one? That's weird. Me no trusty. Okay, it is. Although this is probably the right position. This is probably very close to the position I want him to be in. I'm going to leave the arms where they are. This foot is going to go there. Ankle. Knee. I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to jump forward and do the last frame. Now, this should be all the same, but I'm going to go ahead and match it anyway. Pelvis to here, that one to lower, upper, chest, wrist, match, and match. These should be all matched correctly already because nothing's changed between those two frames. And then save. Okay. So at this point, he takes a step, 1, 2, 3, that's the loop, and then we end weird. Okay, so on this frame, so he's going to step, he hits that stepping point, right? And then here. Huh. So what needs to happen here, I could have sworn this was a different position. No, I guess that is correct. there's a 58. So 56 is here, 58 is here, then here. Okay, so I need to get 58. Remember, I'm not wearing hockey pads. Such a great movie. Ankle. Knee. Ankle. Knee. Okay. All right, I'm going to save. What I want to do is, as he hits here, I don't really want him to just slide back. I want him to hit. I want there to be impact. And then he gets back to this position. What was with the arm helicopters? What was that? I saw some weird stuff going on there. Alright, so... So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take this selection, copy it here, paste. Because we're taking impact, we're going to move forward a little bit, move down a little bit. I'm going to have to push forward past 65, I think. But let's see how that ends. So 65. Let's make this 70. Okay. we'll get the selection for 65. Nothing's changed, right? So I can just go up here and hit 70, and then we're hitting at about here. Let's copy this position, we'll paste it here. So we've hit, I'm not sure what the heck's going on there. There's a weird thing. This is trying to go back for whatever reason. But here, once we're at this point, we've hit, we're here. We're going to take the torso. We are going to be rotating this hip back. A little bit too far. We'll pull the weight back. This foot can be in that position. So I'm going to copy that foot position. Let's see the motion here. He stops and pulls the weight back. So this frame, let's hold that frame. So we're here, we hit, we'll take this frame, I think, back. Their new setup makes it irritating. Just let me scoot the frame back. Here we go. there needs to be a weight shift. He's planting the foot here. The weight needs to be shifted. So I'm going to take this frame. We'll go up 1, 2, 3 frames. Paste it. So we're here. Foot is planted. Now we get weight shift back. So pelvis, let's take the pelvis position from here. Let's apply that pelvis position here. Okay, let's run that through. I think I like the motion, but I feel like it's too long. What do you think? But I can get it into the engine and we can test it there. See how it's going to work when you let off the control. You know, it doesn't really matter how long it takes as long as I can interrupt it and go into the next animation. Let's save that. We start at 20. Something that I wanted to add in here on 20 is a slight turn on the hip. Let's go back. Oh, we are in object mode. Okay. A slight turn on the hip. If there's a slight turn on the hip, that means there would be a slight counter turn on the shoulder. But I want to see how that plays. So let's get the hip. Copy that value. We'll go to 32. Actually, we'll go to 44. And then on 32, it's the same motion, but it would be the opposite. So it would be Y and Z. So Y gets a reverse, and then the Z I think would also get reverse. Because that would be angled that way, so I would have to take that out just a slight. On the beginning, right as he takes that first step, here, I want to do a little bit of work on this arm. Am I in object mode? Okay. I just don't want it to be idle. You know, I don't want that arm to be. That might be something that would be better fixed in FK. Pull back, move forward a little bit, maybe. What's the position for this wrist? I just don't think it should be idle. Those arms look weird, don't they? When you stare at something long enough, it just becomes normalized. You gotta take your eyes off it for a while. So like when you, let's say if you were to stop like this, pretty abrupt stop, right? You'd stop, there'd be some follow through motion. I have a little bit of follow through, but like he would bend a little bit more forward. Then you would recoil. So I have that recoil starting, but that recoil comes from the hips and the shoulders. So that arm would tuck, you know, you'd pull and twist the body. So anyway, I'm gonna pause here, take a break for a bit, come back to it, just to give my mind a chance to refresh on there. So, thank you for joining me. It's time for me to go outside.